Good evening and welcome to Blueprint Explosive Exclusive. I'm Madhavdas G. In the midst of the U.S. tariff turmoil, President Donald Trump has dropped a cryptic post on Truth Social. He wrote, and I quote, "Looks like we have lost India and Russia to deepest, darkest China. May they have a long and prosperous future together." Now, Trump's social media post has also carried a picture of PM Modi along with Russian President Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping. This latest post comes days after the world witnessed powerful scenes of camaraderie in China's Tianjin during the SCO summit. Now, PM Modi's bonhomie with the Chinese and Russian leaders has signaled a major geopolitical realignment in the wake of Trump's tariff onslaught. The Ministry of External Affairs, however, refused to comment when asked about Trump's latest post.
Regarding the post, I have no comments to offer on this post at this point. तो इस पे हमारे पास अभी टिप्पणी करने के लिए कुछ नहीं है.
India, however, dismissed the Trump advisor's anti-India rant, calling Peter Navarro's recent statements inaccurate and misleading. Remember, Navarro has made a series of anti-India remarks recently, calling India the laundromat of Kremlin and Maharaja of tariffs. He also alleged that Brahmins are profiteering to target India for buying Russian oil. Navarro has further termed Ukraine conflict as Modi's war. Watch how India has responded to these comments.
पीटर नवारो के कमेंट के बारे में हम लोगों ने कुछ गलत और गुमराह करने वाले कमेंट या स्टेटमेंट श्री नवारो की तरफ से देखा है और साथ ही साथ हम ये कहना चाहते हैं कि ये हमारे लिए अस्वीकारनीय है. इसको हम अस्वीकार करते हैं.
India, meanwhile, has expressed hope that the India-US relationship will continue to move forward with mutual respect and understanding. Let's quickly take this across to Mr. Kanwal Sibal, who's joining us. He's a former Foreign Secretary. Thank you so much, Mr. Sibal. First things first, what do you make of the social media post that has been put out by Donald Trump? Because he's put out this photo of PM Modi with Putin and Xi Jinping. And of course, he has said that India and Russia are now with deepest, darkest, quote-unquote, China. What do you make of that post?
You know, this is a bit disquieting because he has he's the one who has given a huge jolt to our relationship with the United States by imposing these tariffs, including the penalty tariffs of 25% because we buy oil and defense equipment from Russia. So the thing to note is that Prime Minister has already met Xi Jinping in Kazan last year. So it's nothing new. And there have been, at the same time, you know, negotiations between our two sides on the border issue. Our armed forces have met several times. Our diplomats have met several times. Wang Yi came to India. Some forward movement has taken place since then. It was absolutely normal for our Prime Minister, after he had already engaged Xi Jinping in Kazan, to attend this summit, because if he had not attended this summit, it would have appeared that there is a new crisis in our ties with China, and all that had happened before in terms of some easing of tensions is actually not a reality, and that, in fact, behind the scenes, new problems have occurred which are preventing our Prime Minister from visiting China. Number two, we are an Asian country. We cannot exclude ourselves from any pan-Asian forum. We have independent relationship with Central Asian countries, with Iran, with Russia, of course, and of course we have a relationship with China, however difficult it is. Now, if we were, and Pakistan is there in this forum. Now, if we were to not attend, we would leave the field free to other Asian countries to join together and reflect on certain issues which are of direct interest to us, including terrorism, which is the real reason, and separatism, which is the real reason for which SCO was set up. And then we'll confine ourselves only to South Asia. That's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
That's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Number three, if our Prime Minister has gone there, he's not going to sit in a corner and sulk. I mean, he's going to make his presence felt.
Absolutely.
India's president felt in a very confident manner, which is why he engaged with Putin, he engaged with Xi Jinping, and he engaged with other leaders too at this meeting. And it's a different matter that the bonhomie and the friendship and the warmth that was shown by Putin to our Prime Minister. It is a precursor to Putin's own visit to India for the next summit. And this is a very good opportunity for our Prime Minister to discuss certain issues with him, including the Ukraine conflict. Now I come to the tweet that he has made, or the post that he has. It has very serious implications. Already the MAGA base has become very racist and anti-Indian. Now, is he implying that now the relationship with India is finished? They have walked into the other camp. They are no longer in the democratic camp. And therefore, he is inciting these people indirectly to target even India more, including his close advisors.
Absolutely. So please stay with us. I'd like to just get in a word from Mr. Markov, former advisor to President Putin, who's also joining us on the show. I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Sibal, in just a minute. Mr. Markov, your opening comments to this particular post, because he says, looks like we've lost India and Russia to deepest, darkest China. May they have a long and prosperous future together. What does this really mean in terms of President Trump's statement, and what are we looking at particularly in terms of the peace effort? Is this President Trump throwing in the towel? Has he put the onus on China and Russia and India now? How are you looking at it, Mr. Markov?
Of course, this post of Donald Trump is recognition that China, India, and Russia, the great powers, which interests should be respected, and with whom United States should build normal, good relationship. And partly it's a missing of Donald Trump that he didn't appear among these three great political leaders of the world. I think that if Donald Trump joins them, it will be the company of four great leaders of the international politics would be better. And I think Donald Trump missing that he didn't attend this meeting, and he is missing also his high tariffs against India. I think this remarks is some kind of victory of India. In fact, Donald Trump recognized that it was his mistake when he imposed so high tariffs against India. And same time, of course, it's difficult to imagine that that America lost India to China, because India and China has also quite complicated relationship.
Absolutely.
They try to avoid the confrontation, but nevertheless they have complicated relationship. So it's these small remarks have a lot of different essence.
Absolutely. And in fact, Mr. Sibal, I want to draw your attention to a report that came out yesterday in the Washington Post, because that report seems to suggest that Marco Rubio and, of course, the Secretary of State, the diplomatic ties are completely, within his ambit. He had gone to the White House with a proposal that had come in from India's side as far as tariffs is concerned, where there were a huge number of concessions from India's side when it came to tariffs. But President Trump reportedly rejected it, saying that India would have to stop buying Russian oil first. How much credence would you give to such reports given today's social media post, Mr. Sibal?
Well, no, there's nothing new in this, in the sense that the USTR had already publicly said that they had taken the agreement that they had negotiated with the Indian side to Trump, and he said verbatim that Trump said that everything has to be opened up, or almost everything has to be opened up. There was no reference to buying oil from Russia, that kind of a thing. But he was not satisfied with the agreement, because what we had negotiated was a fair, reasonable, and a mutually beneficial agreement, as we say, which means that we had not capitulated to the Americans the way the European Union and Japan and South Korea have done. He wanted commitments that we'll buy more defense equipment, we'll buy more LNG from United States, we'll invest a lot of money in United States as other countries have promised, that was not there in this interim agreement. And that will not be there in any future multi-sectoral trade agreement that we sign with the United States. It has to be a balanced agreement. So there's nothing new in what the reports are coming. It is the same thing being recycled in a different way. But coming back to this tweet that he has made, and if he has reached the conclusion that now India is in the other camp, these are several implications down the line, even with regard to Quad, even with regard to all the other structures of our cooperation that were set up, and those were delineated in the joint statement that the two sides had issued after Prime Minister Modi visited Washington in February this year. Now, all that theoretically is up in the air. And then he wants to have a beautiful deal with China, and then he talks about China being deepest dark forces. I mean, he must make up his mind.
Absolutely.
So is China now his enemy? Maybe he's been unnerved by the military parade, but he has not noted that India did not attend the military.
That's a very crucial point that you're making there. India attended the Tianjin SCO summit, but did not participate in that military parade, which a lot of countries, including Pakistan, North Korea, did. And do you think there's that subtle room that India has left, diplomatically speaking, to show that we may have attended all of this, but at the same time, India, for instance, does more military exercises, Mr. Sibal, with US than even US does with NATO?
No, that is true. We've just had that Yudh Abhyas exercise in Alaska just a few days ago. That part of the relationship is continuing. But the thing is that Trump is such a loose cannon. He doesn't understand the implications of what he says. After all, he's the leader of the most powerful country in the world. He should be much more, careful and sober when he comments on international relations. First of all, he shouldn't publicly comment on everything, and so loosely. It creates a lot of misunderstandings about what his intentions are, and makes the task of policy making on both sides that much more difficult. But it appears that there's nobody to advise him. I mean, he's striking terror in the heart of all his associates. They don't want to challenge him. He's personalized foreign policy to such an extent that his whims actually dictate policy.
Absolutely. And we bring in Dr. Sergey Markov on that. Dr. Sergey Markov, there is a subtle difference, even though Prime Minister Modi was there at Tianjin. The fact that India was not there when the military parade took place, where, of course, President Putin, Xi Jinping, who was the host, and several other countries attended. Is there a slight difference in terms of the positioning that you see? And also in terms of the ties between India and Russia itself, and Russia perhaps efforts at ending the war, where are things looking at the moment as far as that is concerned?
I think it was quite realistic that a leader of India didn't visit military parade in Beijing. First of all, because as already mentioned, India has complicated relations with China, and sometimes it was even military clashes on the border. And also, it's a natural competition between two great superpowers, China and India. Two countries' civilization, as we told it. And so it's normal that these countries, which is very close to each other and which compete for the political influence in the big Pacific Indian region, which are competing for the money, for the markets, for the investment, for the leadership in the technologies. It's naturally. But what is important, and what is China and India and Russia try to show, that if some countries have some complicated relationship, and even have some contradiction, they should come not to the political war, but they should have dialogue between each other.
Absolutely.
It's our demands, common demand to the Western countries. Stop your neo-colonial pressure. Stop your moving from conflicting relationship to the political and economic wars. Let's start discussion and trying to solve some win-win solutions.
All right, Dr.
It's,
Markov, Dr.
common-
Markov, Mr. Sibal, completely out of time, sir. Thank you to both you gentlemen for joining us and sharing with us your views on this massive diplomatic development that has taken place.